Hello grapplers and welcome to a new video. It's a quick update. The pad journey finally ended with the MR reset. The quick answer to your questions if I'm gonna keep playing pad is yes, I'm gonna. But not necessarily the pad you might think, I guess. I don't know. I started with the DualSense, move on to the DualShock 4, back to the Xbox Series controller, and then to the Switch, to the Pro controller. Now, which one is better? I'm just gonna start mentioning what's good about pad versus stick versus leverless. I think everything you can do on leverless, you can also do on pad. That's the first thing. You have all the pros and cons. It is very easy to do certain things, harder to do others, like the 720. It is easier on pad than leverless, but you can still do them with enough practice on both controllers. A stick is always the best call for me for grapplers that require 360s and 720s. It is very easy to just spin the stick, press the button and get the super. There's also an issue in Street Fighter 6 with the inputs, so it's very hard to get the super level 3 sometimes. Sometimes you get super level 2. That happens less on pad and even less on leverless, where you have full control of your inputs. But most of the time, I think I was pretty comfortable. And also I played a tournament recently with pads. Now we can move on to the actual pads and my super short review of each one. The worst one by far is the Switch Pro controller. And the reason is basically how the buttons are laid out. The height of the buttons is very significant, and also the D-pad. Even though it is an actual D-pad, it's harder for me to actually feel the areas where I need to go. I didn't play on analog, by the way, on any of my controllers, so that's one thing. I don't think analog is the way to go, for me at least. And the triggers are just not made for fighting games. I think this controller is very good for action games like Devil May Cry. For those kind of things, excellent. But for fighting games, I don't feel the precision I require for a pad. The feel of the controller in your hands, pretty good. The Xbox Series controller that I have over here. A lot of people told me about how the clickiness of the D-pad is a good thing. For me, it wasn't. It's just a weird D-pad where you put your finger on it, you cover the entirety of the D-pad. So I guess for 360s and 720s, it is easier in some ways. Knowing when you press the diagonals is a mess. You don't actually feel them. The sticks are a little stiffer compared to the Switch Controller Pro, so I guess that's the reason why so many people prefer this pad with analogs. But for me, the triggers are the biggest issue, and also the buttons compared, for example, to even the Switch one. The buttons follow a slight curvature of the controller, so pressing the Y and V, which is your medium punches, at least in the default configuration, for the parries was a mess. It was very difficult for me to actually get it. My biggest concern is the D-pad. I just don't like it. I can feel someone really preferring this D-pad just because of the clickiness of it, as I said. Some people really like it, but for me it's not it. I just don't feel the precision. I totally understand why people prefer this controller, and I do prefer it for almost everything that is not a fighting game. DualShock 4. This is my first DualShock, if you're wondering. I got this with my PS4 on release. I know it was a stupid decision, but we don't talk about that. I fixed this controller over the years. I also have all of 2 DualShock 4s, so this is not the only one I used. I do have some concerns. The connection. This is a micro USB, which is awful. Considering everything is just USB-C. You have to have a specific cable to bring this around tournaments. The second thing is I never felt really comfortable with this controller. The way your hands wrap around the edges, the handles, is not the best for me, and I have tiny hands. The triggers are super small, but those are not the issue. Buttons are fine. It's better than the PlayStation 3 analog, but I still don't see myself using the analog for precision inputs, even though it is even stiffer than the Xbox Series. I think this, and it is also shorter. I don't necessarily feel like this is the best analog, at least for that era of controllers. The D-pad is fine. The D-pad is, I think I really like it. I know some people don't like the PlayStation D-pads, but for me, someone who's been playing, I don't know, Tekken 2 on PlayStation 1, I use the controller without the analogs, the regular PlayStation controller. Yeah, that one. That is one of my favorite controllers for fighting games. I've been using this D-pad for so many years. I just like it. I just like it for KOF, I like it for Tekken, and obviously also for Street Fighter. Some comments mentioned the durability of the DualShock 4 is better than the next one. No, I've never had issues, well, so far, with the D-pads on PlayStation. I've known players, especially during the Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 5 days, they used the DualShock 4 and they had to change them constantly. So I don't know if that's ever gonna happen with the next one. This is my best controller. I just really like it. Now, to be fair, I barely touch the analogs, so they're almost as new. The D-pad, I think it's a little, it might be crazy, it's a little smaller than the DualShock 4, but for some reason I still like it. The way my hand feels and my finger feels the directions, the small buttons is excellent. I really like it. The triggers are fantastic. Bumpers also, I do enjoy the position they're in, and just the how comfortable the controller is around the hands. The material feels great, and the weight of it compared to any of the other ones, maybe the Dual Switch Pro controller might be the same one, but the Xbox Series and DualShock 4 are not the same as this one. I really like the weight, the feel of the controller when you hold it. USB-C, so very easy to plug into a PS5 obviously, and any device really. So that's a plus, something that, to be fair, also the Switch Pro controller and the Xbox Series have. Basically, this is the controller I'm gonna play most of the time. Now, to be fair, I'm just talking about controllers that are basically either you buy them separately, but they are part of the main console experience. So I haven't used the Octa, the Victrix one. So I really want to delve into those type of controllers to see if they actually beat this one. I'm gonna keep playing pad, maybe switch it up sometimes with a stick, just for the sake of it. This is just a me thing, but I had to mention the colors of the DualSense are pretty cute, but the Xbox Series, those are amazing. I would love to get like that flashy green one. That's the update of the D-pad journey. Take care of yourselves, playing grapplers, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.